Have you heard of the attach, cry for help mechanism as part of our sympathetic nervous system response? Most people tend to refer to our sympathetic nervous system as the fight or flight component of our autonomic nervous system. And yet we have a number of different mechanisms ingrained or interrelated into this sympathetic nervous system response. The attach, cry for help component is often activated when we feel that the fight or flight component has let us down. So when we feel that we haven't been able to adequately remove ourselves or flee from the stress or the overwhelm that's occurring. And this is where we turn to or we draw on our social engagement aspect of our nervous system. So this is where we might turn to the support of others in the way of family, maybe close friends, and maybe also turning to look towards support of specialists, doctors and other specialists and therapists as well. The trouble with the attach, cry for help mechanism is that it usually is activated when the individual feels that they cannot adequately deal with the stress and the overwhelm that they're feeling. They're not resourced and they don't have the tools that they need to cope with what's happening. So they turn to others looking for the support and the empathy and the understanding that they need. And so this might look like somebody who constantly is reaching out, constantly sharing their story, constantly calling or text messaging or making appointments. What many don't recognize is that this is a trauma response. And a lot of people don't know how to respond appropriately to somebody who has experienced trauma. So what can happen to the person who is reaching out, looking for that support and that understanding, is quite often they're left feeling isolated, or they feel that they're not receiving the kind of support and validation that they need to feel safe. And so this can be quite triggering in itself, in that they may be left feeling overwhelmed, isolated, that they're overly needy or clingy, and that they don't have the ability to cope with what's happening in their lives at the time. This is why I feel it's really important with the work that I do with my clients, that I helped teach them how to resource their own nervous systems. So whilst the attach, cry for help is a valid part of our sympathetic nervous system, I equally see that it's really important that we know how to resource and support our own nervous systems. So that when we're feeling dysregulated, when we're feeling overwhelmed, and we're feeling like life is extraordinarily difficult, we have the tools, we have the knowledge, and we have the coping mechanisms to help just bring ourselves back into that window of tolerance so that life can seem a bit more manageable. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about maybe the attach, cry for help mechanism or other sympathetic nervous system responses, or even in terms of how to resource your own nervous system, you're more than welcome, if this feels fitting for you, to reach out either through direct message, or you're welcome to send me an email just following some of the links on my pages.